Hello, my name's JJ and welcome to my latest video. This will be a brief stripped down review comparing the 2016 X Compact with the 2015 Z5 Compact. Stripped down means there won't be any specs or benchmarks, it'll just be my review having owned both for a good while now. I'll go over the things I like and the things I don't, and I hope my findings will help you make a decision or just be interesting and informative. I've previously owned a Z5 Compact up until a few months ago, but I sold it as the battery life had been crippled by the Nougat update. There's a review video on that one on my channel if you're interested. Since then I've found that I've missed the convenient size, front-facing stereo speakers and the waterproofing that the Z5C had, but I didn't want to risk buying another one. So I recently bought an X Compact as the price was great, it was a newer model and it had 50% more RAM. I uploaded an XC review video a week or so ago and my conclusion was that in some ways the Z5C had it beaten. I've since picked up another Z5C and so I thought I'd do a side-by-side comparison. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe and share, and thanks to everyone who's supported me so far. I've already reviewed both phones individually, so this will just be a brief overview. The Z5 Compact has a frosted glass back, a squarish chunky feel and a micro USB charging port. The back doesn't really smudge too much, which is nice, and the slight lip on the back edge makes it easy to hold and use in one hand. The other main design difference is the lanyard loop. I can't speak highly enough of this low-tech solution to help avoid drops. I rarely see other people using lanyard straps, but I find it makes even pulling the phone from a pocket easier. Sony have unfortunately moved away from this simple but effective aid, but it's only when you've actually used one that you'll ever miss it. The smoother, cheap-feeling, glossy black plastic body shell of the XC will be more resilient to drops than the glass back of the Z5C, but more prone to scratches, dents and fingerprint smudges. In fact, I've never owned a phone that smudges so badly as the XC. Handling is less sure for me too. The rounded edges do not give a great deal of grip, and without the lanyard loop I don't have much confidence with one-handed use. Such a shame. The already short volume rocker from the Z5C is now even shorter here. That's a drawback, and positioning is still too low. Useful if you zoom in and out using the camera app, but as I never do that, it's a minor annoyance. The rear camera is more recessed on the XC, but that and a few other minor design changes make little difference to me. I don't like the fact that the XE has 2.5D curved glass. As somebody who uses a tempered glass screen protector at all times, that's going to be really difficult getting a good edge-to-edge fit. The newer X Compact has a USB Type-C connector. As I've mentioned before, the jury is out for me as to whether I think it's an improvement or not over micro USB. I'm not fussed about higher data transfer speeds, and I don't have a problem plugging in the older connectors. I've got loads of old chargers and cables about though, and I don't really want to have to buy replacements or mess around with adapters. The fingerprint sensor has supposedly been improved since the Z5C, and in terms of positioning it's still my favourite place. I find it far more convenient than those found on the back or the front. However, I'm now starting to have more fingerprint recognition issues with the XC than I do with the Z5C, so that's come as both a surprise and a disappointment. The 720p LCD screen on each is bright and vibrant. I've had no issues viewing them in direct sunlight, and Sony have done an excellent job with deep blacks and rich colours. They're no competition for a decent AMOLED screen, but are well balanced and the whites are really clean and bright, which I like. I do find the XC screen a tiny bit warmer than the Z5C though, which to my eyes isn't as pleasant when viewing white backgrounds, etc. Battery life has been okay on both, and there's no clear winner here. Since the XC updated to Nougat, it's reduced the screen on time from around 5 hours to around 3.5, just like it did with the Z5C. They are both charge every night type of phones for me, and I do have to watch my usage on heavier days. I'm hoping a bug fix will sort it out, and that's a phrase that is often said about Sony devices unfortunately. The Z5C definitely becomes warmer than the XE when pushed hard, but has never gotten too hot though. Fast charge is fairly similar on both, but there's no wireless charging, which is a real shame. There is a built-in software battery management on the XC, which supposedly preserves the life of the battery, but it does slow up the charging time by around half an hour. Okay, let's talk about the front-facing stereo speakers. Frustratingly, very few manufacturers include these, and in the case of the X Compact, I'm pleased they're there, but the volume and depth of sound is a real letdown. Here's a random YouTube clip, straight from the camera, no mics or meters involved. Now, neither have room-filling sound, but the Z5C is definitely louder and richer, and that's important to me. The camera on the XC seems marginally quicker than the one found on the Z5C in terms of opening time and reduced shutter lag. The interface and final results are similar, but I consistently find that the older Z5C produces sharper shots. They may be over-sharpened, but as a self-confessed sharpness freak, I enjoy the extra crispiness from the Z5C. The stock album app, which I like, has recently suffered from awful lag when rendering zoomed in images. Fingers crossed Sony will release a fix soon, but if it annoys you too much, then there's no such delay with Google Photos. There is more manual control with the XE, which may be of note to some of you, but both lack the comprehensive manual controls and raw shooting options that are increasingly found elsewhere. Neither phone cameras compete with flagships from the last few years or even some of the recent mid-rangers though. Come on Sony, with your heritage I expect more. There's no front flash on either, which is a shame as the selfie cameras really both struggle in poor light. Overall, if top quality camera results are important to you, then you might need to look elsewhere. The issues seem to do more with the software and processing rather than hardware, but it's a continual disappointment to me. Video recording is only up to 1080p on the XC. Both provide detailed, vibrant results, and the electronic image stabilization works really well, but there's no optical image stabilization on either. And if you want 4K recording, then you'll only find it on the Z5C. Software is similar between these two devices, both are running the same version of Android. If it's important to you, the XC is more likely to be supported for longer with security patches and version updates. Onboard storage in both of these is 32GB, with around 20 available straight from the box, and the XC benefits from 50% more RAM, which translates to slightly faster app opening times and fewer redraws when multitasking. I still think the Z5C performance is exemplary though, and performance improvements nowadays have plateaued, so real life differences are measured in milliseconds and are therefore fairly negligible. Signal quality from Wi-Fi on both is good and cellular connection is average to good, but for me the Z5C does a slightly better job holding on to a weak data signal. Call quality is a highlight with good clarity and volume noted at both ends for each phone. Bluetooth is fine too. Nothing much to report, no dropouts, and the ranges are okay. There's a newer version of Bluetooth included in the XC, but I haven't noticed any differences at all. Finally, I'll add a few minor observations and opinions. The screen on the XC is positioned slightly higher than the Z5C, so reaching the top corners with one hand is slightly less convenient, and given its slipperier body, certainly harder to do so confidently. The XC restarts as soon as the combined microSD and SIM card slot is opened, so if like me you like to hot swap memory cards, that can be really annoying. No such problem with the Z5C. GPS speed and accuracy has not been a problem with either device for me, some have asked me whether that's the case. And in conclusion, with all things considered, I have to say that I prefer the Z5C for the screen tint, the speaker volume, the certified water and dust protection, the lanyard loop, the more premium feel body, the screen position, the volume rocker size, the feel in hand, the fingerprint sensor, the 4K recording and the camera sharpness. I only prefer the XC for the likely software support duration, although the benefits of that are a little questionable, and the slightly snappier performance with its extra gigabyte of RAM. I've decided to sell the XC and I'm sticking with the Z5C, as overall I find it the more complete and enjoyable option. If you're still with me, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please support the channel by hitting the usual buttons. I've barely earned pennies so far, so it may help one day. Until the next time, thanks again.